Good morning, students. Welcome back to the history class. Today is the part 4 of the first chapter, Medieval Europe. So, in the last video, we finished Christianity in Roman Empire, emergence of Constantinople as new capital, barbarian invasions, decline of the ancient Roman Empire. And today's video, I am going to cover all the remaining points: Byzantine Empire or Eastern Roman Empire, emergence of the Ottoman Turks, Crusades, monasteries and nunneries, impact of monasteries. The first, Byzantine Empire or Eastern Roman Empire. So the city of Rome was invaded by the Vandals. So the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, was removed, and after that there was no emperor in the west. But the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, because with the Constantinople as its capital, survived till 1453 AD. So during most of its existence, the empire was the most powerful economic, cultural and military force in Europe during the Constantinople rule. So the Christian values, ideals were the foundation of the empire's political ideals, and in that sense it was a theocracy. So the Byzantine emperor, the Justinian I, in 529 AD, appointed a 10-man commission to revise the Roman law and created a new codification of laws that known as Justinian Code. So Justinian I, he trying to remodify the Roman law, and for that he have organized a 10-man commission, and he create a new codification of laws, and that known as the Justinian Code. So in the field of science, geometry and its applications like architecture, engineering, instruments of war, that all had been the specialty of Byzantines. So surviving Byzantine art is mostly religious. So you can say painting in fresco, the illuminated manuscripts on wood panels were the specialty of Byzantine art. So the Byzantine churches were famous for their interiors, which were lavishly decorated with mosaic images of Christ, the Virgin and the saints, and with painted icons, means that is beautiful religious statues. So the empire declined after 1453 AD, when the Turks captured Constantinople. Emergence of the Ottoman Turks. The Ottoman Turks were a nomadic tribe of Asiatic horsemen with a fearsome reputation. So at the time of Sultan Muhammad's army of 80,000 men laid siege to the city of Constantinople. So despite a desperate last-ditch defense of the city by the Christian forces, Constantinople finally fell. So in spite of the forces that are in spite of the Christians, so they give their force, they give their effort to protect the Constantinople. But after all, the Constantinople finally fell. But the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI Palaeologus, fought bravely till the city fell in the hands of the Turks. Till the city totally covered by the Turks, he fought bravely. The Ottoman dynasty is named after the Ottoman ruler named Osman I, who belonged to a Turkish tribe of Central Asia. Thus, with the fall of Constantinople to the Ottoman Turks, the Byzantine Empire perished and the Ottoman rulers began to rule over the Eastern Roman Empire. The Sultan Muhammad II renamed Constantinople to Istanbul. So, after that, Sultan Muhammad II renamed Constantinople as Istanbul. The Ottoman sultans were inspired by the Islam. Like Constantinople's, they are inspired by the Jesus Christ. But after the conquered by the Sultan Muhammad II, he renamed the Constantinople as Istanbul. Next, Crusades. The term crusade means the holy wars between the Christians of Europe and the Turkish Muslims for the reconquest of Jerusalem, the holy land of Christians. So at that time, after the conqueror by the Ottoman Turks, Jerusalem had been a place of pilgrimage for the Christians from Europe. But by the 11th century, the Muslim Turks ruled over that particular area. They often used to attack the Christians pilgrims visiting Jerusalem. They also prohibited the Christians from visiting Jerusalem. They blocked the trade between Europe and Eastern region. So after that in 1905 AD, Pope Urban II called for a crusade to conquer Jerusalem for the Christians, the First Crusade. So over the next 2 centuries, the Christians recaptured each by one. So finally, the Crusaders lost all their territory and retreated from the Holy Land, Palestine, for the last time. Between 1095 AD to 1270 AD, 8 crusades were fought, which had a great effect on the people of Europe. First Crusade, the Crusaders journeyed across Europe and took Antioch and Jerusalem. Then they claimed lands throughout the area. So many Muslims and Jews were killed. So in the First Crusade, so many Muslims and Jews were killed, and they are trying to acquire throughout all the land, all the areas of Antioch and Jerusalem. In the Second Crusade, the Muslims captured Damascus and routed the French and German soldiers. So in the Second Crusade, the Muslims succeededly captured the Damascus and routed the French and German soldiers. They capsized the French and German soldiers. In the Third Crusade, the great Salahuddin ruled Syria and parts of northern Africa. He expelled the Crusaders from Jerusalem and ruled over most of Palestine. So whatever the cost it is, so they succeeded somehow to acquire the Jerusalem. But in the Third Crusade, the great Salahuddin ruled Syria and some part of the northern Africa, and he expelled the Crusaders from Jerusalem and again ruled over most of the Palestine. So in the Fourth Crusade, sponsored by the Pope, the Crusaders sailed to Constantinople, looted the city and installed Baldwin of Flanders as emperor. So these kind of things are happening in the Fourth Crusade. And so after that, the Sixth Crusade, the Muslims and the Christians negotiated a truce which lasted for 10 years. The Fifth Crusades that I have missed here, because in the Fourth Crusade too, between the Sixth Crusade, so Fifth Crusades does not give you that kind of effect, that kind of impact to the Jerusalem or to the Ottoman Turks. So that's why it mentioned the mostly focus to the sixth crusade. So in the sixth crusade, the Muslims and the Christians, they negotiated a deal for the 10 years. So what happened? All the crusades, and what is the result come out? What is the consequences of crusades? So crusades helped in generating national feeling among the people of Europe. So they realized they shared the same culture, spoke the same language. So the desire to unite under one ruler led to the birth of nations states. So these crusades created them a patriotism to the Europe, patriotism within the people. Then trade between East and West was reopened. So many feudal lords and knights lost their lives in these holy wars. Most of the brave warriors, they lost their lives in these crusades. Then monasteries and nunneries. With the spread of Christianity, churches were established in villages, towns, and cities and all over Europe. So people started seeking the services of the Christian priest for performing religious rites and rituals. The priests also took initiative in spreading education and helping the poor and the needy. Some Christians priests lived among the people to serve them, while some others preferred to follow monasticism. So a follower of monasticism renounces worldly pursuits and devotes his or her life to only spiritual work. So the male Christians who follow monasticism are called monks. So the residence of the monks we call monastery. The female Christians who follow monasticism are called nuns. The residence of the nuns is called nunnery or convent. Another name of nunnery or convent is abbey. So the head of monastery is called abbot, and the head of nunnery or convent is called abbess. So Saint Antonio of Thebes organized the first order of Christian monks. So he is called the founder of monasticism in Europe. So life in a monastery and a nunnery was simple and disciplined. Neither monks nor nuns were allowed to marry. They devoted their lives to spiritual and religious matters and in the service of people. They also learned various subjects. And thereafter, impact of monasteries. So monasteries were large buildings surrounded by gardens, fields and ponds, and each monastery had a church, living quarters for the monks and nuns, and also they have a kitchen and also storeroom. They evolved into centers of art and education, as well as great institutions of social service. Great institution of social service. So there are some points that illustrate their great impact on the society in medieval Europe. So apart from the religion related study, the priests taught subjects like history, philosophy, medicine, law and astrology. And this way they made education more useful. Then in the field of arts, monasteries did great work such as wood carving, glass and mural painting and architectures. So in these fields monasteries did great work. Then, as the printing press was not yet invented, the monks and nuns prepared handwritten copies of the Bible, Greek, and Roman classics. It helped in reviving learning and spreading knowledge about the ancient civilizations of Europe. Okay, so at that time the printing press was not invented. So the monks and nuns they prepared their handwritten copies for the, for the Bible, Greek, and Roman classics. For that, it helped them to revive to spread the knowledge about the ancient civilizations. So it helped them in the future. So that's why they prepared handwritten copies. The monks and nuns staged plays on the lives of saints to teach the importance of ethics and morals to the common people. And they also led simple lives to set an example for the people. And there were priests called friars who used to move from place to place to help the people. They helped peasants, means peoples. They helped peasants in their work, cared for the sick, and taught the children. So the monasteries, like monks and nuns, they gave their great impact to the society. They reflect, they spread the knowledge about the ancient civilization of Europe, and they are trying to show their lifestyles so that people can inspire from them. And some kind of spirits, priests like friars, so they move place to place to help the people, taught the children, and also cared for the sick peoples. So in this way, we finished our first chapter, Medieval Europe, Rise and Spread of Christianity. I hope you understand all the 4 parts of the first chapter. So make a note, find all the key terms. So thanks students for being with me at the last of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll meet you in the next video with some exciting topics. Till then, see you. Take care. Bye.